Hi, I'm Matt, and this is Track in 60, where I try write a song in under 60 minutes. And this is all live as well. And the theme today is water. And this was suggested by RadekG in the comments, so thanks for that. And initially, when I thought of this this theme, or saw the theme, sorry, I was thinking like the first thing, obviously, I was thinking like ambient, kind of soundscapey. But then I thought, why not like introduce water to the equation? And this might be a bit crazy to do. I'm kind of, it's kind of spare at the moment thought to actually try and include water into this. So I think initially I'm going to try sample, pouring the water into this. To record, I'm using an SE electronic laser mic, which I think they might be discontinued now, but they're actually really good. I use it a lot for different things, especially when I'm traveling, which I'm doing at the minute. So first, let's get into Ableton and make sure we're all set up correctly. And also, let me get the timer going as well. Sorry, I'm just switching around my my OBS stuff, because actually it's a little bit, actually can't see some of the stuff here, sorry. Right, so let's get the timer going. You'll see that the timer is in the top right corner, so that's counting down now. So let's just get a track going, and you might hear me twice when I press record, because we're going to have two mics going, so apologies for that. There's a bit of latency and things like that. But initially I'm just going to take some samples from this water, and the first thing I'm going to do is record me pouring the water into this. We should be getting cool, we're getting a signal. So let me just press record, and I'm going to carefully pour this water into here, and hopefully the level will be okay. That was very quiet, actually, that level. But let's see what we can do in Ableton there, and see if we can kind of boost that somehow, make sure we can actually hear something. Yeah, it's there, it's just very, very quiet. So I'm just going to use the utility. And this, I'm aware that this is probably going to start off quite boring, but it should pick up after a while once we've actually got some sounds to work with. Okay, yeah, we can hear that. And already that kind of bloop sound is pretty cool. I think we could probably use that. So what I'm going to now do is, annoyingly, I actually don't know if there's a way I can actually pour this back into the glass safely. I'm not even sure I want to try. I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to try carefully pour this in. Okay, we did get some water on the table, but that's fine. And I'm going to bring the mic down a little bit, so we can try and get a little bit of a hot signal. And then let's try record that again. Then let's press record. Yeah, that was much better actually. So let's have a listen to that and see how that one sounds. Let's just boost the signal a lot, because that's very quiet. Yeah, there's some usable bits in that. And now what I want to do is try kind of do some kind of percussive stuff. And I've got a spoon here, so I'm hoping. Originally I was thinking I'll just use my fingers, but then I thought actually that's probably like a really silly idea, because I got my fingers all wet and then start using the keyboard and then do that. So I'm hoping we can get some sounds using this spoon. Let's see. Yeah, not bad actually. So let's record that. Oh. And obviously there's some metallic sounds going on there from the, well, it's glass, but like it kind of almost sounds metallic-y. So obviously I don't want to use any of that. I'm also trying to think about the, you know, when you have a glass and you kind of have water and you kind of do that kind of sound. I don't know if I guess it's the water that is creating that. So I'm going to try again, pour this water back into this glass very carefully. Just do it very quickly because I feel like that's the safest way of doing it in a way. And how do you, I wonder if I can get some kind of sound doing that as well. And again, sorry, this is a little bit boring because it's not the fun part. Well, I'm enjoying it, but I don't know how fun it is to watch. But let's get this recording and let's try to get some other sounds using the water on the glass. No, that's not working. I actually can't remember how you do it. How you do the. I thought you put water around the edge and then it kind of. You kind of get that. I mean, we could also even, you know, lower the water, but then I feel like that's not water, so I want to avoid that. So let's see what we have so far because we've already used 5 minutes of our time to try and get these sounds. I don't know if there's actually anything usable in this last bit, so I'm just going to put that there and color it red for now. Maybe there's something in there that we can look at. Well, let's first look at this sound here. That's kind of cool. So I think let's cut that bit. Anything that's usable, I'm going to throw over here. And that's pretty. And that last bit's quite cool as well. So let's cut that. What else have we got? Yeah, some good stuff in there. It's very noisy, actually. In fact, I realised the reason it sounds like it's got a noise gate on it because it actually has got a noise gate. The this NUX Amp Academy that I'm actually using as my kind of preamp, because it's the only one I've got out here, actually has a noise gate built on. That's why you're not hearing anything and it suddenly comes in, which is kind of doing me a favour, actually, in some ways, because it's, yeah, so I would have to do that anyways, because the signal's so hot, there'd be a lot of noise. Yeah, that little sound's quite cool. Let's take that and use that. Oh, that's quite cool, actually, even on its own. It sounds quite rhythmic, that. If we like loop that, and that's completely unprocessed. And yeah, that's the thing I didn't say at the intro. I'm clearly going to use effects and stuff built into Ableton to try and get something more musical out of these samples that we just got. Because otherwise, I think it'd be very difficult. But yeah, it's something quite cool about that. It's already getting. Maybe we could make a song without using any effects, but we're not going to do that today. What else have we got in here? Yeah, some quite cool sounds in there, actually. I mean, that, I don't know, I'm not going to use that because that doesn't sound like water to me. It's just that, but that third one. Oh, that little blop is brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant, that little sound there. Something in that as well. Yeah, that's cool. So I think I'm going to just use these sounds here. And we'll just use that as a base. If there's anything else you want to go, we can either record more things or you know, or just look back at what we've got already. Okay, so another thing that I didn't even think to use in the box video that I did, if you don't know, I wrote a whole song using just a cardboard box the other day, and something I just didn't think to use was the sampler. And Radek, the guy who actually suggested this, actually mentioned that in a comment, and I hit myself. I was like, why didn't I use the sampler? So I'm going to use that for this one because that will save a bit of time rather than pitch shifting things manually. So I'm going to use the simpler, which is basically a sampler, but it's just very simple. And I'm going to probably use... Well, I don't know what that is. I don't know why I've copied that over. That's not usable. So I think these three sounds here could be good to try in the sampler. So I'm going to copy this. Put that in there. And then what I'm going to do is just create a MIDI part that's playing a bunch of different notes so I can hear what's going on. Sorry, for some reason my mouse is freaking out a little bit. I'm not sure why. Let's just put some notes here so I can hear what's actually going on with the sampler. Sample, solo that. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool already. It clearly needs a boost. Okay, that's cool. Let's just duplicate that. In fact, no, I'll start again with a new track. And put the... Where are you? Why can't I see you? No, it's because I'm in the wrong section. And let's just put the simpler, which is sampler, on both of these. And let's put this sound in there. And with this one, let's put this sound in there. And I'm just going to copy these notes for now. And let's have a listen to this second sound. It's pretty cool. And let's try the third sound to see. So maybe adjust the... I'm going to extend these notes because this last sound is the one that kind of can... That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So these three sounds could be kind of our melody, I suppose. But I think now I want to focus on getting some kind of I guess like a drum, like some kind of drum part. So let's do a snare first. I think that's going to be easier. I'm going to call that water snare. And I think I'm going to use that kind of... Where's that? Where's our little sound that was... Where are you? I'm trying to find that sound that was like the perfect, like, kind of bloop. That's the one. That's what I'm looking for. So that's going to be our bass for our snare, the sound here. Oh, no, no. Yeah, that's just super quiet. Just push this up to 12 dBs. Put fade in there. I want to make sure this is actually starting as soon as that starts. It's great. We need to boost it a bit more though. Let's put it straight up to 24. Okay. So this could be the bass for the snare and the hi-hat, or the foundation. Saying bass is confusing because it's also so many other things. So also we need to set a tempo. So I'm thinking quite slow. So definitely not that. Let's go with 90. 85. Let's go down to 80. Okay. It's quite interesting already. Let's turn the click off. I mean, that in itself is quite a cool little loop, actually. Sorry, I know I said I was going to start with the drums, but I actually want to start with this loop. I want to shift that first sample because it's slightly. I mean, she sounds good when it's played with the click, actually. I'll loop this and then try find that snare sound again that I was using, which was this little sound, but it's not sounding right anymore. And I think it's. Let's turn warp off. I reckon it's probably, yeah, it's the warp messing around with it. So I'm going to put this on the 3. Okay, with this sound, I'm going to put some reverb on there. I'm going to use the baby audio spaced out. I wonder if we can also use this sound for the kick drum. We just pitch shift it. So let's just change that to kick. I'm going to put that there. Let's see what we can do with the sound. Let's just try to pitch shift it. That's pretty good. Just shorten it. Yeah, that's pretty good. So the full thing in context. Okay, so that's like a nice little bar loop that we have there. So I'm going to copy this stuff. I think we clearly need more. I kind of want to create some kind of almost like a pad sound from some of these sounds that we have. So let's go back to what we have over here. In fact, I wonder if there's a way to make a pad out of one of these samplers we've already got. I mean, that could maybe work. Let's just loop that. I'm going to put the spaced out on it as well. Let's have a look at the actual sample and see. Put the release up. Maybe the decay. It's pretty cool sounding. I want to change the notes, obviously. I also want to figure out what the note of that kind of kick drum is, because it's clear it's got like definitely like a lower note. I wonder if we loop that super fast and we can just use the tuner quickly to figure out what that is. Oh, where are you, tuner? Audio effects, isn't it? Of course, tuner. So I'm clearly slightly G sharp. Okay, cool. Switch this to G sharp to make sure it actually works. And obviously, we don't know. Obviously, it's G sharp. I mean, it's working actually, but that's going up. I'm using G sharp on the basis that the sample itself was G sharp, and it's working. But that's obviously something to bear in mind when using a sampler, is that your original signal that you're getting, you really want it to match the corresponding note that you're using within the sampler. That's kind of working though, which is pretty cool. So let's just do this whole thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I'm actually going to duplicate this sound, actually push this an octave, a couple of octaves down actually, and see, you can almost get like a kind of a bass line kind of sound out of these water sounds. Shift that so it's in time. Wow. Sounds pretty cool, actually. And in fact, I'm going to try, this might not work at all, but I'm going to try put the Waves Submarine on this, just to see if we can actually get any sub out of this. I mean, this might not be the best sample to do it with. Where are you, Submarine? There you are. God, I feel like I need like another coffee or something. I don't feel like my mind is working as it usually is. Okay, so if you don't know what Submarine is, it's this brilliant kind of sub creator, I guess, or emulator that you actually get 2 octaves of sub. And if the signal's good enough, it does a really, really good job. So if we just start with the octave lower, put the wet all the way up so we can hear exactly what it's doing. Now it is there, I can hear it in my in-ears, but it's very, very low. Like extremely low, to the point where you're probably not going to hear it. But it's kind of cool, because I'm wondering if we were then to put, say, like iZotope's trash on there, which sometimes can bring up that really subby stuff, and you kind of get like a really nice, well, it's going to sound distorted. I'm actually going to lower the level of this because it might be too high, but let's put aggression. Yeah, so we are getting some kind of note there. It sounds absolute mess, but there is a sound there. Let's just hear what this all sounds like again. Okay. Let's try a different preset. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly too low to get anything out. Let's push this up an octave. Although actually I liked what they sound like, so I'm going to duplicate this. Take off all this stuff that we just added on, because it actually sounds pretty cool that low down anyways. It's quite a cool sound. So what I'm going to do with this one is then push it up an octave. I always forget, there's a really easy way to push stuff up an octave. I can't remember what it is. It might be shift up arrow maybe, but I mean we could get some kind of bass line out of this kind of sound. I think we might need to pick a different trash note. I mean, it's pretty cool. It clearly needs a high cut because it's quite messy. In fact, I'm going to put this in. I'm going to turn this into audio once I put a high cut on it, and put that into a sampler as well. Let's use the Waves Q2 or Q1, sorry, for the high cut on this. Yeah, well, we're clearly going to get that. I mean, that's crazy. That's come out of water. But yeah, it's still obviously messy. So what I'm going to do is create an audio track, make the input I think it's this one. Actually, don't know which one it is. Oh, Water 3. God, let me just rename this quickly. Let's call it Water Sub. There we go, makes it easy. And then I'm just going to record this. I mean, it sounds really quite messy at the minute, but with that sound, we could put this in the sampler and hopefully create quite a cool kind of bass line. Let's create another MIDI track. Now, I kind of really wanted to set up the OP1 to use it as a MIDI controller again, but I just got so nervous with all the water around. I'm like, I just don't want to put the OP1 next to the water, so I'm going to end up using the just the note input. And I'm looking for the sampler, right? Or the simpler, sorry. And let's just drag this sound into this. So if I just copy these notes for ease, just so we can figure out what it's actually sounding like. Let's actually create like a bass line that kind of like, for now, just pulses, just so we can hear exactly what it's doing. Let's use the C, keep the C note, but let's make it go an octave higher. Oh, I just realized I had my mic muted that whole time. I muted it because I needed to burp, so I muted it, burped, and then forgot to unmute it. So yeah, basically, I was just saying that sounded like a mess, basically, that link. And I was also saying we've only got like just over 30 minutes left. I can't believe we've used 30 minutes already. So what I'm going to do is actually use this sound and just hopefully maybe, I'm thinking using like a filter on it to kind of give it some interest. So I'm going to use the Baby Audio Transit 2. To try and give it kind of more of a rhythmic. That's pretty cool. It's not very ambient-y or anything, but I mean, I never really, I wasn't sure where I was going to go with this when I decided to use real water. So, I mean, it's sounding heavy. It's quite cool, but let me just see what happens if I actually pitch shift the notes. Yeah, it's almost that's not going to work, unfortunately. But I like the way that sounds. There could definitely be a section in the song. And obviously, because we've only got 30 minutes left, we've used almost half the time. I'm going to start coming up with a bit of a structure for the song. So I'm probably going to start off with these kind of percussive. I kind of love the way the kick drum sounds. How does that sound when it's on 4 on the floor? Maybe go back to that. So this could be our intro. And then maybe let's bring in this element once it goes to the 4 on the floor. Oh, I'm going to shift this slightly because it's bugging me where it is. Okay, and let's pop this in. Yeah, it's quite a nice percussive element. And then maybe bring this in up to 4 bars. And bring this element in after 4 bars. Quite like that on its own. And then maybe bring in these kind of nasty, I guess, bass line. Bring in this kind of percussive element. I mean, it's really not what I would have expected to get out of Water, if I'm honest. I think it's almost like on the verge of, you know, being almost like a dubsteppy kind of track, isn't it? Almost, or trap, which really wasn't the intention, but that's just kind of the way it's going. And also, there's actually a thunderstorm going on over there. So if I suddenly lose disconnections, because probably we've had a power cut, just a word of warning. So what I want to do once we get to this, once I've got this kind of percussion element in, I'm actually going to kind of maybe stagger this a little bit. You know, I kind of like the idea. It's kind of just to see how that sounds. Oh, this is interesting. And then maybe I'll do it just like triplets. It's funny, like all my stuff always ends up going quite dark, which is never the intention. Kind of interesting. I definitely need to, if we're going this direction, I definitely need to get a thicker drum sound. So I'm going to duplicate the original kick, and let's see what we can do to make this kind of sound more like a kick drum. And obviously I've not even done, the only thing I've done to this sound is pitch shift it so far. So let's try EQ it first, and I'm going to use the Waves, probably Q3 for this. Push it low end a bit. I'm still on G sharp, make sure, yeah, it's still G sharp. Got a nice little click sounding there as well. And I'm going to use the Magma BB Tubes as well, which is a saturator, and I use it in every video. I actually love the sound of it, and I don't know what's going on. I apologize. I'm really not. I'm struggling to concentrate. And let's just put it up to 5.5, and then it's got this amazing bass relief, which just makes sure it's clean. All right, we're getting more kick drummy now, which is good. You can hear when I put the bass relief off. See, it's the low end's kind of stalling. If I put it all the way up, it kind of cleans it up. Okay, that's sounding kind of heavier. So let's just copy this part and see how it sounds in context. Now, I don't like how it sounds when you hit. I kind of like the idea. It's like I like on the offbeat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Just copy that. And we need like a snare, so let's have a look at our original snare again. Our little bloop sound. And let's duplicate this again for ease, for time saving. I don't want to do that. And let's copy this over here, see what we can do with this sound. We'll just solo it. And let's put the BB tubes on this. It's basically going to repeat what I did with the kick drum, trying to get a kind of more of a snare sound out of it. I wonder what happened if we pitch shift it, maybe like half an octave. Interesting. Let's get the Q3 by Waves again, the EQ. Let's put a low cut on this. And that kind of sound there is quite cool. That kind of, it sounds almost like a crunch. Okay, and then let's maybe push this magma up all the way. Lower the volume a little bit. I'm also going to put some reverb on this as well, and I'm going to use Ableton's hybrid reverb for that. There it is. Lower the wet signal. Okay, and then context. Just shorten the waveform because I want it to be really sharp. Oh yeah. That actually sounds pretty good now. Yeah, it's actually pretty nice sound. Little snare sounds like a rim shot. Now the only thing I think is missing is kind of like a low end, I suppose, like some kind of bass line or something. And I'm just thinking, because I like that kind of distorted sound we have, but it's not sounding like, I kind of like the idea of maybe like a very subby, because I don't want to forget the fact that, water's flowing. It's kind of like an ambient E. When you go under it, everything's kind of like dull sounding. So we definitely want to put some high cuts on things as well. I'm also aware that we only have 23 minutes left of those 60 minutes. So I definitely want to kind of get my skates on. And I'm thinking, just before I do any of what I just said, I quite liked the way the snare sounded. When I just had it looping, I quite liked it. It was almost on maybe the 2, 3, and 4. So if I just... Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you're watching or just joined or whatever, this all what you're hearing has been created using just water and some effects using this water right here, this special water. I just want to realize my shot's getting quite dark actually, because it's starting to get dark here. So apologies if I'm super dark. So what can we do? Yeah, it's the bass that I really want to focus on now. So let's try find what other sounds. Let's go back to our sounds that we got earlier on. Or maybe let's actually look because we're only using one of these samplers at the minute. We've got 2 others to look around, so we'll mess around with. So let's have a listen. And then this one. This, I wonder, could maybe... Let's see what we can get out of this. I feel like if we pitch shifted this, we might be able to get some kind of lower end. try maybe sit on G sharp for a bit. Okay, and let's just shift this over to this main bit over here and see what we can do here. Okay, let's have a look at the sample because we want to shift it a bit because it's take off that starting tail. Wow. Just putting a high cut on there. Push the DK up in the release. Almost sounds like a cat meowing. And actually, again, I've put that in there and I quite like the way it sounds. So I'm actually going to now duplicate this. And I need to look at naming these, but I really feel like I haven't got time. So it's just looking absolutely chaotic. Okay, let's, shift this down. Or actually, let's use the Waves Submarine and see if it will work with this sound that we have now. It's kind of working. It's super low. I can hear it in these, but yeah, you might not be able to hear it unless you've got if you've got headphones or anything that can produce super low end. But I'm going to put trash on this. And I'm hoping we get better results with this than we did with the other sound. I'm going to push this level down a little bit because I've got a feeling it'll be super loud. Let's do heavy. Yeah, we're not getting the notes. The notes aren't translating though. Yeah, so that's not going to work. Let's try EQ this actually. That's probably a better result. So I'm going to go back to the Q3 by Waves. And I'm going to put it before the sub and see what we can get. I'm going to keep the mix all the way to wet so we can kind of hear what's going on. So you can hopefully you can start hearing that. It's almost like a heartbeat actually. Very low. So what I'm actually going to try to do is actually shift this an octave higher and hopefully we can get these notes being translated. No. Just sounds like the one note. It's a shame. Maybe that isn't the sound that we want. I mean, that kick drum, maybe I can use that kick drum sound because that's actually probably the bassiest thing we have here. So I think actually that's probably the route to go. I'm going to turn that off because it's probably just creating loads of low end mess. So yeah, let's have a look at the kick. And the first thing that's coming to my mind is just like, see how it sounds. We put it on the offbeat, let's loop this little section. And I want to pitch shift this to 36, which is an octave lower. Oh, wow. Actually, okay, I know I was trying to do bass, but that actually sounds quite cool, actually, as a percussive element. So I'm actually going to keep that as well. I feel like I'm doing this all the time. I'm trying to find one sound, create another, and then end up using it. So, I like this. So I'm going to dot some of these around kind of areas that I think that will probably work. And let's have a listen. Shift it. Yeah, that's kind of. I mean, maybe we don't need a bass line because that kick is so subby. mean, this is similar to the box video that I did, where it's just like it's like a very percussive kind of weird sounding song, and I really want to get some kind of pad sound, some kind of bass line, but I've got 15 minutes left, and I feel like I've only got like these kind of 2 sections so far. So what I'm actually going to do quickly, because I've realized this camera's got really dark, so I'm actually going to pause the timer quickly, and I'm going to go over and adjust the camera and brighten it up for a second. So I shall be back in a Yeah, hopefully that's a little bit brighter, and thanks for sticking around. So let's get back to this. I'll get the timer going again. So where were we? Yeah, I feel now listening to it again after that tiny little break, I kind of feel like the kick is actually filling out that low end quite nicely. Now, obviously, we need something to change. As much as I actually quite like this groove, I want something to change melodically. Let's have a look at this sound. Let's maybe first shift it up an octave. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if we can get some harmonies in there. Okay, what's this other sound doing? Oh yeah, we've got that turned off at the minute, so I'm just going to make that smaller. What about this sound? Yeah, what can we do with this percussive sound? Yeah, that's kind of, it works in a weird way. And what else can we do? Maybe do a bit more with this kick. Let's have like a double note first, initially. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then for this, let's just go a little bit chaotic and have a bit of a pulse. Yeah, and then we're going to copy that. There's going to be kind of like a slow build, I guess, and then maybe like a bit of a dip. So it's going to, I'm seeing like a bit of a crescendo and then coming back down towards the end of the song. Let's have a look at this sound, because I kind of like the idea of putting a delay on this. In fact, let's put the Transit 2 by Baby Audio on this and see if we can I kind of like the idea of using one of these effects. I'm just going to go for the presets because of time. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm actually going to automate this. So it slowly increases, hopefully building interest to the song. Wow. I guess we're going to go like techno with this. That's not what I thought. It's honestly what I would imagine. You know, doing a song with just using water, using this glass of water right here. I never would have thought it'd be turning into kind of like almost like a techno song, but it's kind of cool. You know, I don't mind it. So. I mean, that sound at the end, I don't even know where it's coming from, but it sounds cool. So this end bit's going to go a little bit kind of, I guess a little bit techno-y, because why not? Shorten these notes. Oh, they're not going to shorten because of the way I've got the sampler set up, so I don't want to mess with that actually. Was there another sampler we're not using actually, or did we? Oh yeah, there's this one, this sound here as well. Let's have a listen to that. Oh yes, the sound we're using for the snare. I think there's something we can do with this, especially for this kind of this next section. So, where's the loop? Maybe like almost like a 16th part. Oh. So let's see how that sounds in context. I wonder if we can actually do this as 32s. Why can't I? I think I put that in the slightly wrong area, so I'm just going to quantize that. No, it was right. If I turn the first hit of every bar as well. It's kind of crazy. It's a really silly song. It's made completely by water and Ableton effects. I'm also thinking maybe let's put trash on this kick and slowly automate the wet signal, so it's going to get bigger and bigger as it goes on. So let's first get the sound fully wet and see what we can get. Just going to lower the mix for a short amount of time, just because sometimes this comes out really loud. Wow, that's quite cool. Whee. I like that. I mean, that slightly distorted sound might work if it was kind of halftime. It's too fast otherwise for my liking anyway. So let's just, well, I like that. That's cool. So I'm actually going to keep that, and I'm going to duplicate, and then play all that. And let's have a solo this, because I want to go to one of those kind of heaviest. I mean, that's pretty cool, actually. Oh, we want to automate the signal, because I only want that coming in for this next section. Let's put this on the offbeat. So I'm going to shift it off actually slightly for that second. I mean, there's something in this that I really like, and I feel like with more time, like if I could actually put a real kit over this, I think it'd actually sound pretty. You know, actually use this as almost like a foundation for the song, and then actually put some synthesizers and put some real drums over it. Well, not real drums, like synthesized drums. Basically, what I'm trying to say, you adding stuff that isn't just from this water signal, then I think it actually be quite cool, quite a cool song actually. Let's get our snare back in as well, and some of these percussion elements, because I think they're kind of missing. Let's just have the snare on the 2 and the 4. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's actually, I think that's quite a cool groove. So, how long have we got left? We've got 4 minutes left. So, let's look at the structure, because clearly I'm actually going to do some tidying up as well, because this project is an absolute mess. I'm going to shift all this over here, and I'm going to copy all this stuff to the beginning of the song, because I also want to know how long this is as well. I don't want it to be too long. No, it's currently 3 minutes long. Okay, so maybe after this section, we can have a couple of loops of this section, and then go back to the beginning, this section. It's like a finale after the chaos. Well, it's definitely lacking some actual bass here. I want to lower that kind of sound a bit. And I think we could do more with this as well. Maybe let's automate the wet dry signal. And then that can finish there. Yeah, I think I want to make this kick sound. I'm going to duplicate the kick as well, because I think that's kind of what's lacking a bit. I think that just needs to be bigger, maybe throughout the whole thing actually. So let's see. Let's have a look at iZotope again. I'm going to delete this automation. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure about that sound actually. Let's look at what else we can do with that. That's quite cool. Okay, we've got 60 seconds left. Wow. Need to delete some of these kick drums. Hang on a minute, that's not actually the start of the song. Start is the bit after, so I'm going to copy this quickly. And because we've only got 29 seconds left, I'm just going to quickly move this to the intro because I'm just curious to know how long this actually is. So it is 2 minutes and 30. So it's a little bit shorter than I thought it was. So just for quick, easy, I've got 8 seconds left. I'm going to put the Ozone 11 on the master channel, and I'm going to use the preset balanced, I think it's balanced mix, which also balanced master, which is really good. Like just a quick, you know, a quick master that does a pretty decent job. So let's have a listen to this. You've just joined. It's a song completely written just using this water that I've sampled. So all the source audio is just from the water, and I've just used like the simpler, which is the Ableton's kind of simple sampler, and just manipulate some sounds, pitch shifted things, just to try and get kind of sound. And this is very similar to the box video I did, where I just wrote a whole song using cover box, where it's very percussive, I think. And there probably are ways that if I spent more time, I probably could, you know, actually have kind of more kind of paddy sounds and like that. But I think with the time constraint, it's very limiting. So let's have a listen and see how it all came out. So yeah, there it is, all completely written using the source audio of water. Yeah, it's quite cool. I think there's definitely like, I mean, the snare I think actually sounds really cool. It sounds like a rim shot, and it's like it's a sound I'd probably attempt to use in other things. I think, yeah, it's just very percussive heavy. It's not, you know, it's not something you're going to hear probably anywhere. But I think it would probably be, I feel like it's a foundation for quite a cool song, actually. Like I kind of want to maybe revisit this. Same with the box video, the cardboard box video as well. I think I might actually do maybe a live stream at some point, or just do a whole video where I revisit these and actually add in, you know, proper elements of actual kind of synthesizers and proper drums. Because I actually think there's a lot of elements in there that I'd actually think that, you know, I'm hearing these things that I'm like, that's actually really cool. But as it is, it's so basic, isn't it? It's so limiting. But let me know what you think in the comments, anyways. What you think of the song. Unfortunately, I've not been able to actually see the comments today. If anyone's posted anything, unfortunately, but I will look at them after. And yeah, if you've liked this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. It does mean a lot. And yeah, I think I've covered everything there. Yeah, thank you for watching. It's always so much fun experimenting. And yeah, if you've got any ideas for other themes that I can try, just let me know. And yeah, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day.